What if there really is a single quiet law, older than stars and smaller than particles, guiding every motion in the universe in one unbroken rhythm, including the motion you barely feel as you lie here now? If journeys like this one bring you a moment of calm, feel free to gently like or softly subscribe, only if it feels right in this quiet corner of the cosmos. Imagine, just for a moment, that everything you know as movement, change, direction, and choice is woven from one ancient rule. Not a commandment, not a decree, but a subtle preference built into the fabric of existence itself. A principle so simple that the universe does not need to enforce it, because nothing has ever violated it. As you breathe, as your thoughts slow, as the night settles around you, that law is working, shaping the path of photons left over from the birth of the cosmos, shaping the fall of a leaf on Earth, shaping the orbit of stars around the dark heart of the Milky Way. This law is called the principle of least action, though the name barely hints at its depth. It does not mean objects take the easiest path. It means that among all the paths reality could choose, it chooses the one that balances energy and time in the most elegant way. Pierre-Louis Maupertuis first hinted at it. Joseph Louis Lagrange gave it structure, and William Rowan Hamilton shaped it into the form physicists now use to describe everything from electromagnetic fields to the quantum behavior of electrons. And yet the law itself feels older than all of them, as if they were merely discovering something the universe had always whispered. Think of a beam of light leaving a distant star. Across millions of years, through cosmic dust and gravitational fields, through the bending of space-time around clusters of galaxies, that beam does not wander aimlessly. It follows the path that minimizes its optical length. It does this without thought, without intention, without awareness. Reality simply curves itself, and the light obeys. When Fermat studied light 350 years ago, he found that it always chooses the path that takes the least time. He did not know that this was only one expression of a far more universal rule. Now imagine the electron in a hydrogen atom. Classical intuition fails there. In the quantum world, the electron does not trace a single orbit. According to Richard Feynman's path integral formulation, the electron explores every possible path at once. Every wiggling zigzag through space-time contributes to its behavior. And yet, when all these paths interfere, only one broad pattern remains, the pattern that arises from the path of least action. All the other possibilities cancel out in a silent, intricate dance. The universe tries everything, considers everything, and then settles into the one shape that fits the rule. It is as if reality is not commanded by force, but guided by elegance. Stars obey this law as surely as particles do. The orbit of Earth around the Sun is not merely the result of gravity pulling on mass. It is the path that minimizes the action for a system of two bodies in curved space-time. The ellipse is not a shape forced upon the Earth. It is the natural solution to a cosmic equation that treats motion like a kind of poetry written with energy and time. Johannes Kepler glimpsed the harmony. Isaac Newton described the force. Albert Einstein revealed that even gravity itself follows from this same principle. The curvature of space-time is the geometry chosen to minimize the action of the gravitational field. This quiet rule is not just one law among many. It is the rule from which the others unfold. As your body sinks a little deeper into stillness, consider that even stillness is not exempt. The path that leads you from one moment to the next is shaped by this principle. not because you are controlled, but because everything that exists moves through time according to the same cosmic pattern. A falling raindrop, a drifting moon, a photon leaving the sun's surface, a planet collapsing into a black hole, all of them are doing exactly the same thing, following the path that balances the bookkeeping of reality with perfect simplicity. In the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, protons race around a ring 27 kilometers long, pushed to energies of nearly 7 trillion electron volts. As they accelerate, as their masses effectively increase and their clocks slow relative to the rest of the world, every fragment of their motion still obeys least action. The collisions they produce, bursts of quarks, gluons, muons, showers of energy and particles, are governed by quantum fields whose behaviors arise directly from this rule. The standard model of particle physics is built entirely from Lagrangians, mathematical expressions that encode how much action a system contains. If you change the Lagrangian, you change the universe. Now picture the cosmic web, the largest structure known. 14 billion years of expansion have stretched matter into filaments hundreds of millions of light years long. Between them lie voids vast enough to contain thousands of galaxies, yet almost empty. Gravity did not sculpt this alone. The entire evolution of the cosmos, from the first fractions of a second after the Big Bang to the galaxies forming now, is a slow settling into the path of least action for space-time itself. Even dark matter, silent and invisible, obeys the same rule as it weaves its scaffolding around which galaxies take shape. And beneath all of this, beneath the galaxies, beneath the particles, beneath even the fields, lies a deeper truth. The law of least action is not a constraint. It is a preference the universe expresses without needing to decide. The universe does not calculate. It simply is. And what it is happens to unfold along this elegant rule, like water flowing along the shape of a riverbed, not because it must, but because it cannot do otherwise. As the night settles a little more deeply around you, you may feel a quiet sense of alignment with this idea. You are part of the same fabric that stars and particles inhabit. You are made of quarks and leptons that have always obeyed this rule, long before your body formed, long before Earth existed, long before the Milky Way spun its spiral arms into place. The atoms in your bones were forged in stars that followed the same law, guided by the same balance of energy and time. Every breath you take is part of the same cosmic economy, the same subtle rhythm that governs galaxies. And in this rhythm, stillness and motion are not opposites. They are simply different forms of the same path. Even when you lie completely still, you are moving through time. Your body is orbiting the sun at 30 kilometers per second. The sun is orbiting the center of the galaxy at 220 kilometers per second. The galaxy itself is falling toward the Great Attractor at 600 kilometers per second. The universe expands around you. And yet, through all of this, you feel still, because the path of least action is smooth, quiet, and intimate. It allows you to drift through immeasurable motion without feeling shaken or pushed. It is humbling to realize that the law guiding everything is not loud. It is not forceful. It is not dramatic. It is silent and soft, a whisper beneath reality. And though the words used to describe it sound mathematical, the presence of the law itself feels almost gentle. It shapes the rise of mountains and the bending of light. It shapes the probability clouds of electrons and the expansion of space-time. It shapes the curl of your hand, the firing of neurons, the way gravity gathers dust into planets and planets into solar systems. It shapes the birth of stars and the collapse of massive ones into black holes, where even time reshapes itself to fit the rule. If you were to shrink down to the Planck scale, the smallest distance that still has meaning, space-time itself might appear grainy or foamy, as some theories suggest. Yet even there, even in the turbulent quantum foam, the underlying action principle still holds. The fluctuations, the uncertainties, the fleeting virtual particles appearing and dissolving, all follow patterns dictated by the same law. The quantum field does not break it. It is the quantum field. And if you were to zoom outward to the scale of the observable universe, a sphere 93 billion light-years across, the shape of everything, the distribution of galaxies, the anisotropies in the cosmic microwave background, the rate of expansion, follows the same principle. The cosmos is the action principle written large, gravity and energy composing a symphony of motion across billions of years, each moment echoing the same rule. As your thoughts drift a little more slowly now, you may sense how comforting this is. The universe is not chaotic in the way we fear. It has room for randomness, for quantum uncertainty, for thermal fluctuations and emerging complexity, but underneath all of that is a quiet consistency, a reliability older than suns, a steady current flowing through the deepest physics we know. This law does not tell you what to do. It does not shape your choices, but it shapes the stage on which everything unfolds. It is the reason clocks tick the way they do. It is the reason atoms have structure. It is the reason gravity has the form Einstein described. It is the reason energy moves the way it moves, why the laws of conservation exist, why symmetry matters. No matter where you go in the universe, no matter what you study, this law is there first, setting the boundaries for what can exist. And as you sink deeper into the quiet of this moment, you are participating in that same ancient choreography. You are made of matter that obeys it. You move through time because of it. You rest within night because the rotation of Earth follows it. You are intimately woven into the most fundamental rule the cosmos has ever known. A rule that requires no enforcement, no authority, no beginning, and perhaps no end. A rule that simply is and always has been. Every moment you have ever lived has been carried quietly along this hidden curve of reality. And as you settle further into the softness of now, the idea becomes less abstract and more intimate. Like the slow realization that you have always been drifting in a current you could not feel but could always trust. The principle of least action is not just a framework physicists use to calculate motion. It is the underlying rhythm of the cosmos, the way the universe chooses to evolve from one heartbeat of time to the next. It shapes the trajectory of comets and the flicker of neurons with the same calm precision. And when you let your awareness soften, you can sense the gentleness of that rule in the steady continuity of your own existence. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, when the universe was less than a trillionth of a second old, inflation drove space to expand at unimaginable speed, far faster than the speed of light can travel through it. This violent growth did not happen haphazardly. The inflated field, the hypothetical scalar field thought to have driven inflation, also obeyed the principle of least action. Even at the dawn of time, when temperatures were so high that atoms could not exist, when the universe was a seething sea of quarks and gluons and unbroken symmetries, the entire expansion followed the one path that minimized the overall action of the field. What seems like chaos was guided by a deep simplicity, a preference woven into the essence of existence long before galaxies spun themselves into light. As the universe cooled and the primordial soup condensed into protons and neutrons, the atomic world took shape under the influence of this same rule. The strong nuclear force, described by quantum chromodynamics, works through a Lagrangian, another expression of action. The AC forces binding quarks into protons and neutrons, and those particles into atomic nuclei, arise from the patterns that minimize the action of the underlying fields. Even the stability of the matter that makes up your body owes itself to this quiet law. Without it, the delicate balance between forces inside the nucleus would collapse, and atoms as we know them would never have formed. When the first stars ignited 100 million years after the Big Bang, their formation was not simply a gravitational accident. Clouds of hydrogen collapsed along trajectories predicted by the gravitational action of the expanding universe. Under the pressure of contraction, atoms fused into helium, releasing the first starlight. The shape of each collapse, the temperature at which fusion began, the flow of energy through the early stars, all of it followed the path of least action. And when those stars died, some in gentle fading, some in spectacular supernova, the heavy elements they forged were released into the universe, where they eventually became planets, oceans, and the complex molecules of life. In a very real way, your existence is a consequence of the universe's desire for simplicity. Even the biochemical processes inside you obey this rule. Electrons jumping between orbitals, proteins folding into intricate shapes, enzymes lowering the energy barriers of reactions. All of these reflect the minimization of action in microscopic processes. And when those microscopic events scale up into thoughts, memories, dreams, and emotions, they carry the same quiet precision. The most complex patterns of your mind are built on the simplest law the cosmos knows how to express. If you listen inwardly now, letting the surface noise of thought drift to the edges, you may notice a kind of symmetry in the way your awareness feels. A balance between energy and effort, between motion and stillness. This is not separate from the physics shaping the universe. Symmetry is one of its deepest principles, and Noether's theorem, one of the most beautiful results in mathematical physics, reveals that every symmetry corresponds to a conserved quantity. Time symmetry creates conservation of energy. Spatial symmetry creates conservation of momentum. These conservation laws are not arbitrary. They arise directly from the structure of the action. The universe conserves things because its action prefers to remain unchanged under certain transformations, like a melody that stays recognizable even when played in different keys. The more you explore this idea, the more it becomes evident that the law guiding everything is profoundly economical. It is not minimal in the sense of taking shortcuts. It is minimal in the sense of being fully itself, using only the energy required to move from one moment to the next. Whether you watch a pendulum swing or a galaxy rotate, the patterns you see are the visible traces of that economy. The arcs of motion drawn through space are like the strokes of a brush held by the universe itself, each one chosen with quiet intention. Consider the way space-time curves around massive objects. General relativity tells us that mass and energy influence the geometry of space-time, and that objects follow geodesics, paths that feel straight to them, even though they appear curved to us. These paths are themselves the solutions to an action principle. Gravity is not a force pulling objects downward. It is the natural settling of those objects into the shape space-time prefers, a shape that minimizes the action of the gravitational field. You feel gravity as weight, but the universe feels it as elegance. You might imagine the Earth's orbit around the Sun as a loop drawn in the softness of space. Each moment of that orbit is the universe choosing the most seamless flow forward. If Earth were nudged slightly, the path would shift, and a new curve would form, still guided by least action, until the motion settled again into a configuration that satisfied the underlying rule. That quiet resilience is everywhere around you. It is why planets remain in orbit, why light bends around massive objects, why galaxies maintain their spirals. Now, let yourself drift out farther, to the intergalactic voids, where the density of matter is so low that a single hydrogen atom may occupy a cubic meter of space. Even there, the gravitational potential of distant clusters shapes the path of particles moving through the emptiness. Even there, least action guides the wanderings of lonely photons born from the first stars. Distance does not weaken the rule. It applies everywhere, invisibly and completely. In the far future, when the last stars burn out and the universe becomes a dark expanse of glowing embers and evaporating black holes, this law will still hold. Even as entropy increases, even as energy spreads thinner across an expanding cosmos, the action principle will guide every transition from one state to the next. It will shape the final evaporation of black holes through Hawking radiation. It will shape the slow, long cooling of matter. It will shape the faint afterglow of a universe drifting toward thermal stillness. And when that stillness is reached, if it ever truly is, it will be the final expression of least action, a state where no further evolution can lower the action any further. You are living inside a story written by this law, but the chapters do not feel like commandments. They feel like natural moments unfolding. When you breathe, when you close your eyes, when your thoughts soften toward something quieter, you are participating in the same cosmic continuity that carries galaxies. The beauty of least action is that it does not demand awareness. It simply holds everything in a gentle, coherent unfolding. You do not need to understand it for it to work through every atom and every heartbeat. Yet, understanding it brings a kind of peace, as if recognizing the invisible thread that connects you to the vastness around you. And as you let this understanding settle a little deeper, you might feel an almost imperceptible shift. The recognition that the universe does not move forward through force, but through harmony. That beneath complexity lies simplicity. Beneath motion lies elegance. Beneath everything lies a quiet consistency that has shaped the cosmos since time began. The one law that controls every particle, every star, every galaxy, and every breath has been carrying you gently all along. There is a moment, somewhere between wakefulness and the drifting edge of quiet thought, where the idea begins to feel less like physics and more like a gentle truth you have always carried. The principle guiding every particle, every star, every galaxy becomes something you can sense rather than analyze, like the steady pulse of your own heartbeat reflected outward into the fabric of the universe. As you settle deeper into this calm, the law of least action becomes not just a framework of equations, but the soft architecture of reality itself, shaping the flow of time as surely as it shapes the arc of a planet or the flicker of a photon. In the subatomic world, where uncertainty reigns and particles can behave like waves, even the chaos is choreographed. When you think of an electron, you might imagine a tiny sphere orbiting a nucleus, but quantum mechanics paints a different picture. The electron does not trace a single path. It inhabits a cloud of possibilities, each potential route interfering with the others. Feynman's path integral formulation reveals that the electron, in a sense, explores every possible trajectory between 2 points, from the simplest to the strangest. Yet, when all those possibilities are combined, symmetry and cancellation leave only one effective motion, the motion that minimizes the action. The electron's behavior is not random. It is the distilled result of the universe evaluating all possibilities and choosing the one that fits the quiet rule. Let your awareness soften around that idea. Everything the electron could have done, every path it could have taken, contributes to what it ultimately becomes. And yet the final pattern is elegant, smooth, balanced. You can imagine it like ripples in a pond. A single pebble thrown into still water produces countless overlapping waves, but eventually a coherent pattern emerges, the one that expresses the system's true nature. In quantum physics, that coherence is shaped by least action, and it is this coherence that becomes the stable world you inhabit. Even the emptiness between particles is ruled by it. The vacuum, which might seem like nothing at all, is alive with virtual particles flickering into and out of existence. This constant seething, sometimes called quantum foam, obeys the same principle. The fluctuations that appear more frequently are those that satisfy the balance encoded in the action. This helps explain why the vacuum has energy, why particles can borrow energy briefly as long as they repay it within the limits set by Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, why every field that fills the universe vibrates with subtle motion even at absolute zero. Stillness, even in the deepest silence of space, is not the absence of activity. It is the perfect equilibrium of these fluctuations. As your breath slows, imagine drifting upward through scales of size and energy. Rise from the quantum realm into the world of atoms, where electrons form shells and orbitals, where chemical bonds take shape, where molecules fold into the intricate geometry of life. Each bond forms because it lowers the action of the system. Each stable configuration of a molecule is a quiet settlement into minimal action. Even the way your DNA coils and uncoils, the way proteins shape themselves into the forms they need to function, the way signals pulse through your neurons, all reflect the same deep principle. Life does not escape physics. Life is physics arranged into self-sustaining patterns. Let that idea rest in you for a moment. You are the universe expressing least action in a form capable of noticing it. Now drift outward again, past the boundaries of the body, past the atmosphere, past the orbit of the moon. The region between Earth and the Sun is filled with solar wind, streams of charged particles pushed outward by magnetic fields. Their spiraling paths, the arcs they carve through the heliosphere, the way they curve around magnetic lines, all follow equations derived from the action of electromagnetic fields. Maxwell's equations, which describe electricity and magnetism, emerge from an action principle as well. Even light, the simplest messenger in the universe, is guided by this rule. It takes the path of stationary action, which often means the path of least time, an echo of Fermat's ancient insight. Imagine light bending through glass, curving around stars, whispering through gravitational lenses that magnify galaxies far across the universe. Each deviation, each subtle bend, each shimmer emerges from the interplay of geometry and action. Light is not commanded to behave this way. It simply does, because the universe itself curls gently around the same principle. And, as you drift even farther outward, into the depths where galaxies become grains of light scattered across an expanding sea, the law has not changed. Gravity at this scale is described by Einstein's field equations, which themselves follow from an action, the Einstein-Hilbert action. Space-time chooses its curvature by minimizing this quantity. Massive objects follow geodesics within that curvature, the smoothest possible lines drawn through a four-dimensional landscape. You are surrounded by a universe continually adjusting its own geometry to follow the quiet rule. Picture a galaxy cluster, one of the largest structures held together by gravity. Hundreds of galaxies orbit a common center, bound by both visible matter and the unseen scaffolding of dark matter. Their motions might seem chaotic from afar, but they are not. The orbits they trace, the distribution of mass, the flow of hot gas heated to millions of degrees, the arcs of gravitational lensing that reveal the dark matter web. All of it arises from the cosmic distribution that minimizes action. Even dark matter, mysterious as it is, seems to obey the same rule. Though it interacts only through gravity, it arranges itself in halos around galaxies in a way that produces the smoothest possible gravitational configuration. This is why galaxies spin the way they do. This is why their shapes remain stable. This is why stars cluster along spiral arms, following patterns carved by density waves moving at speeds independent of the stars themselves. The spiral is not a frozen structure. It is a wave, a traveling softness through which stars pass, shaped by the gravitational action of the galactic disk. Now drift outward one final time, until you can almost imagine seeing the entire observable universe as a single structure. A great sphere of galaxies and voids, expanding gently but relentlessly. The cosmic microwave background, relic radiation from 380,000 years after the Big Bang, holds the faint imprint of sound waves in the early universe, oscillations shaped by the action of primordial fields. When the Planck satellite measured those ripples, it saw the signature of least action written across the sky in faint temperature differences no larger than 1 part in 100,000. These ripples seeded galaxies, clusters, and the cosmic web. They determined where matter would gather and where emptiness would stretch. From the earliest quantum fluctuations to the largest structures that will ever form, the universe has been following one quiet rule. And now you lie here, listening to the soft rhythm of your own breath, shaped by that same ancient preference. You can feel how everything in your life has unfolded along paths shaped by countless forces, yet beneath all of them is the same quiet continuity. The knowledge that every system, from your smallest cell to the farthest quasar, follows an elegant balance of energy and time can bring a kind of peace. A reminder that you are not separate from the universe. You are woven from its laws, moving through its geometry, carried gently along its hidden currents. And even now, the law continues. It shapes the air cooling against your skin. It shapes the movement of photons reflecting off your surroundings. It shapes the chemical gradients flowing through your brain as your thoughts soften into deeper quiet. You are immersed in the same rhythm that has guided the cosmos for billions of years. And as you drift a little deeper into this quiet understanding, something gentle begins to unfold inside you, like a slow illumination, soft and steady. You realize that this single law, this subtle preference written into the fabric of reality, is not an external rule, imposed from above. It is the very way existence moves. Everything that has ever happened, from the orbit of the moon to the oscillation of a neutrino passing silently through your body this very second, has followed the same graceful architecture. Consider the path of a neutrino born in the heart of the sun through the fusion of protons into helium. About 100 trillion of them pass through you every second, so effortlessly that you never feel a thing. They rarely interact with matter. They glide through entire planets as if passing through shadows. But even these elusive particles, so light that their masses remain one of the most delicate mysteries in physics, obey the law of least action. Their oscillations between different flavors arise from differences in mass states, patterns encoded in their quantum fields. And those fields, like all fundamental fields, arise from Lagrangians that express the balance of energy and time. Even the neutrino's ghost-like journey is not accidental. It, too, is a quiet expression of the same cosmic principle. Let your awareness rest on that for a moment. The universe is filled with things you cannot see but that pass through you in unbroken streams, all following the same cosmic rhythm. You are not standing apart from this. You are immersed in it, like a small calm eddy in the vast ocean of space-time. Now return your imagination to Earth for a moment, to the way tides rise and fall under the pull of the moon. The movement of oceans may feel ancient and inevitable, but beneath the surface is the same elegant geometry. The Earth-Moon system follows the path of least action in a shared gravitational field. Tides arise because the geometry of that motion distributes energy across the oceans in the most balanced way. Over millions of years, this exchange of energy causes the moon to drift slowly outward, about 4 centimeters each year, another quiet consequence of the universe seeking the simplest evolution. Drift now toward the outer solar system, where icy moons circle the gas giants. The plumes rising from Enceladus, the cracked surface of Europa, the lakes of methane on Titan. All of these features arise from gravitational interactions that follow the same principle. Tidal heating in these moons, caused by their slightly imperfect orbits around Saturn and Jupiter, produces internal oceans and volcanic activity. The action of their orbits determines the way energy is stored and released inside them, shaping worlds that may harbor conditions for life, even in the cold darkness beyond the sun's warm glow. Least action guides the rhythms of oceans beneath shells of ice. And if you continue drifting outward, beyond Neptune, beyond the Kuiper Belt, you reach the interstellar medium, a place where dust, gas, and faint starlight mingle in near silence. Even here, the interactions between light and matter follow the same law. Photons scatter off dust grains in patterns predicted by quantum electrodynamics. Those dust grains slowly spiral inward or outward under the influence of radiation pressure, each motion a delicate negotiation between momentum and energy. Over millions of years, these faint motions seed new stars and new planets. The quiet rule still holds. Then, farther still, you reach the realm where stars begin to gather into the great luminous currents of spiral galaxies. Their arms are not rigid structures. They are waves of density, sweeping through stars like a soft cosmic tide. The stars are not pulled along like leaves caught in a whirlpool. Rather, they pass through the arms, guided by the gravitational potential encoded in the galaxy's action. The stars slow slightly as they enter the denser regions, then speed up as they leave, like travelers walking through patches of deeper sand. The pattern is self-reinforcing because the gravitational geometry created by the stars and dark matter aligns itself with the path of least action. That is why spiral galaxies maintain their graceful shapes over billions of years. As your awareness moves through these grand structures, you may sense something calming in the consistency. Whether you look at the orbit of a single electron or the motion of billions of stars, the same balance guides every shift, every drift, every unfolding. There is no scale at which the rule breaks. It applies equally to the smallest flicker of a quantum fluctuation and the largest sweep of cosmic expansion. And the expansion itself, the gentle stretching of space-time that carries galaxies away from one another, follows from an action as well. The cosmological constant, or whatever form dark energy truly takes, emerges from the energy density of the vacuum. The expansion rate is the solution that minimizes the action of the universe as a whole, given its contents. Even the vastness between galaxies is not empty of guidance. It behaves exactly as it must to satisfy the quiet preference of the cosmos. You might wonder what it means that the universe prefers something. It is not desire in any human sense. It is not choice or decision. It is simply the fundamental way systems evolve toward the configuration that balances their energies and trajectories most elegantly. If you imagine the universe as a great tapestry, least action is the tension in the threads, the subtle pull that keeps the weave smooth. If you imagine the universe as a symphony, least action is the underlying harmony that keeps every note in relationship with the others. And now that you have drifted so far outward, softly hover at the boundary of the observable universe. Beyond this horizon, light has not had time to reach us since the beginning of time. Yet even there, even in the unobservable regions, the same rule shapes whatever lies beyond. The universe does not know where your viewpoint ends. It does not change its laws based on what you can see. The action principle is universal, stretching across the full expanse of space-time, unbroken and unbounded. When cosmic inflation ended, when quantum fluctuations froze into the seeds of galaxies, when matter formed, when stars lit their first fires, when life emerged on a small planet orbiting an unremarkable star, the law was there, guiding the geometry of every transition. And it remains now, shaping the way your thoughts drift and settle, the way your breath deepens, the way your sense of time softens around the edges. You are living inside a universe that has always favored the smoothest possible unfolding. Even in moments of turbulence, the deeper rhythm remains. Even in chaos, there is structure. Even in uncertainty, there is coherence. The law that controls every particle, every star, every galaxy, and every moment of your life is not a source of pressure. It is a source of gentle continuity. And as you rest here, carried by that continuity, you can feel how the universe has always been moving with a kind of quiet grace, and how you have been part of that grace all along. And as you drift even deeper into this quiet understanding, something begins to soften in the way you perceive motion itself. You start to notice that nothing in the universe is ever truly still. Not the atoms in your body, not the space around you, not even the vast stretches of cosmic silence between galaxies. Everything is in motion, and every motion follows the same gentle architecture. It becomes clear that movement is not chaos, but a kind of calm unfolding, as if the universe is always choosing the most effortless path it can, no matter how immense or delicate the process may be. Imagine the slow drift of interstellar dust, floating through regions of space where the nearest star may be light years away. These tiny grains, smaller than grains of sand, are pushed by radiation pressure, pulled by the faint tug of distant gravity, buffeted by the gentle shock waves of ancient supernovae. Their trajectories may seem random, but they are not. They follow the paths that emerge naturally from the balance of forces acting on them, the paths that minimize the action of their surroundings. Over millions of years, these grains settle into molecular clouds, and from these clouds, new stars begin to form. The same dust that drifts through emptiness one moment becomes the fiery heart of a star the next, guided only by the universe's preference for the smoothest evolution. Now, imagine a star nearing the end of its life. As it exhausts its nuclear fuel, its core contracts, heating to incredible temperatures while its outer layers expand into a red giant. Once again, the star is following a path dictated by energy and time, adjusting itself into the state that balances those elements with the least action. If the star is massive enough, it will collapse under its own gravity, triggering a supernova explosion that briefly outshines its entire galaxy. And deep inside that explosion, neutrinos stream outward, heavy elements are forged, and shock waves ripple through space. Yet even this violent transformation is still shaped by the same quiet rule. The explosion itself is the universe's way of settling the star into its final configuration with the smoothest overall change possible, even if the shift feels dramatic to us. From the remnants of that explosion, a neutron star or black hole may form. Neutron stars are so dense that a teaspoon of their material would weigh billions of tons. Their magnetic fields are trillions of times stronger than Earth's. Their rotation can reach hundreds of times per second. Yet, even at this extreme, even in the crushing density where electrons and protons merge into neutrons, the behavior of matter continues to follow the principle of least action. The geometry of space-time curves so tightly around these objects that time itself slows for them, and still the same cosmic preference guides every change inside their cores. And then there are black holes, regions where gravity becomes so intense that not even light can escape. The boundary around them, the event horizon, marks the point where all possible paths forward eventually lead inward. But even this overwhelming pull is not a violation of the law. The curvature of space-time around a black hole is precisely the shape that minimizes the action of the gravitational field. The black hole is not a breakdown of the universe's order. It is the universe taking the most elegant possible shape under immense conditions. The event horizon is not chaos. It is the cleanest possible boundary the cosmos can draw. Let yourself drift toward that horizon for a moment. Not in fear, not in drama, but in quiet fascination. At the edge of a black hole, time stretches, light bends, and the universe seems to fold around itself. Yet everything that happens there follows strict, graceful rules. Matter spirals inward along the path of least action. Light arcs softly around the horizon, sometimes orbiting several times before escaping. Energy is conserved, momentum is conserved, and space-time curves in exactly the way required to satisfy the deep balance encoded in the universe's action. Even Hawking radiation, the faint glow produced as black holes slowly evaporate over unimaginable timescales, arises from an interplay between quantum fields and gravitational geometry that obeys the same fundamental law. As your awareness eases into this idea, the boundary between large and small begins to blur. The behavior of black holes and the behavior of electrons start to feel connected, because both are guided by the same cosmic preference. The smallest fluctuations in quantum fields and the largest sweeps of gravitational curvature are simply different expressions of the same rule. And now, drift from the darkness of black holes to the brightness of newly forming stars. In vast clouds of gas and dust, gravity collects material into dense regions where nuclear fusion can begin. The collapse of these clouds is not random. It follows the configuration that lowers the total action of the system. Turbulence settles, heat distributes, matter finds the most balanced arrangement. And out of that balance, a star is born, a sphere of plasma held together by gravity and pressure, burning according to a delicate equilibrium described by the same underlying principle. The planets that form around these stars, the orbits they settle into, the stability of their motion, all arise from the interplay of energy and geometry. Our solar system is not a random collection of wandering bodies. It is a balanced structure shaped by billions of years of subtle adjustments. Every asteroid, every comet, every moon traces a path that represents the smoothest motion the universe can offer under the conditions present. Now, return to Earth, to the quietness of your own moment. Beneath your resting body, tectonic plates drift across the mantle, guided by convection currents shaped by the heat left over from Earth's formation. Even the movement of continents, slow and ancient as it is, obeys the same balance of forces. Mountains rise and erode, oceans expand and contract, weather patterns shift. Each change, each flow, each gradual transformation is the result of systems seeking the path that balances energy with time in the simplest possible way. And inside your own body, countless processes continue to unfold. Ions move across neural membranes. Electrical signals pass through networks of neurons. Chemical gradients shift. Proteins fold into the shapes needed for life. All of these movements, subtle, internal, unnoticeable, follow the same principle that shapes galaxies. They minimize energy, stabilize configurations, and settle into the smoothest possible evolution. What you feel now, this gentle sinking, this slow quieting of thought, is not separate from the cosmos. It is part of the same continuity. You are not observing the universe from the outside. You are immersed in it, made of it, unfolding with it. The law that controls every particle, every star, every galaxy is the same law that shapes the moment-to-moment rhythm of your own existence. And, as you drift through this recognition, the boundary between your inner world and the outer cosmos begins to soften. The distinction between the vastness of galaxies and the quietness of your breath becomes less rigid. Both obey the same gentle architecture. Both are expressions of the same cosmic simplicity. Both move through time according to the same rule. And as you drift further into this soft unfolding, the boundary between thought and cosmos loosens even more, like a veil thinning in slow motion. You begin to sense how every movement of reality, from the faintest quantum flicker to the grand sweep of galactic tides, is not a collection of separate events, but one continuous gesture drawn across time. A gesture shaped by the universe's quiet preference for the simplest possible evolution. A gesture that has carried you through every moment of your life without you ever needing to notice. Imagine now the delicate dance of planetary systems forming around young stars. In the swirling disks of dust and gas, tiny grains collide and stick together. Millimeter-sized pebbles grow into boulders, then into mountain-sized bodies called planetesimals. Gravity begins to take over, pulling these bodies into orbits that gradually smooth themselves into stability. Each collision, each drift, each slow spiral of matter is guided by the balance of energy and momentum, the quiet settling into the path of least action. Worlds do not assemble through chaos alone. They assemble through the universe's deep tendency to form coherent patterns. And some of these worlds develop atmospheres. Some develop oceans. Some develop chemistry so complex that it begins to replicate itself. Even here, even in the emergence of life, the principle remains. Molecules adopt the configurations that require the least energy to maintain. Reactions occur along the most efficient routes. Structures grow because their shapes minimize the cost of existing. You, in this moment, are the culmination of billions of years of matter arranging itself according to this quiet cosmic preference. Feel that truth settle around you. You are the universe expressing itself in a form capable of awareness. You are matter arranged into consciousness through the same principle that arranges stars. Let your thoughts drift toward space-time itself, the quiet arena in which all of this unfolds. Einstein showed that the geometry of space-time is not a static backdrop, but a dynamic participant in the universe's evolution. The shape of space-time curves in response to energy, and objects move through that curvature along the paths that feel straight to them. The paths of least action in a curved geometry. Even the slowing of time near massive objects, even the stretching of space in the expanding universe, follows directly from the Einstein-Hilbert action that governs gravity. Time does not tick uniformly across the universe. It stretches, bends, and eases according to the same fundamental rule that guides everything else. If you imagine yourself floating gently in interstellar space, far from any star, time would pass slightly faster for you than for someone standing on Earth's surface. If you drifted close to a neutron star, time would slow dramatically. These differences are not arbitrary. They arise because the universe continually adjusts its geometry to maintain the simple, elegant balance encoded in its action. Even your perception of time is part of the same cosmic conversation. Now, picture gravitational waves, ripples in space-time itself, caused by massive objects accelerating, like two black holes spiraling inward toward a merger. These waves travel across the universe at the speed of light, stretching and compressing space as they pass. When the LIGO Observatory first detected them in 2015, it confirmed a prediction made a century earlier. But what LIGO truly detected was the universe announcing its adherence to least action on the grandest scale imaginable. The shape of a gravitational wave, the way it decays, the way it carries energy, all of it arises from solutions that minimize the action of space-time. The ringing of the universe is simply another expression of this law. And then there are the cosmic rays, high-energy particles born in supernovae, traveling through the galaxy at nearly the speed of light. They spiral through magnetic fields, crash into atoms in Earth's atmosphere, and produce showers of secondary particles that reach the ground. Even these ancient messengers follow the paths that balance their energy with the curvature of space they move through. Every interaction they undergo is another small echo of the principle shaping the universe. As your awareness settles deeper, imagine the universe long before stars formed, long before galaxies, long before atoms, a time when everything existed as a quantum field in a hot, uniform state. Slight fluctuations in that field, tiny variations no larger than 1 part in 100,000, became the seeds of all structure. Those fluctuations were not random noise. They were the universe responding to its own quantum action, settling into patterns that would later become galaxies. The cosmic microwave background still carries the imprint of those early patterns, a map of the universe's first whispers of structure. And now imagine the universe in the far future, long after the last stars fade, long after galaxies drift apart, long after black holes evaporate into faint radiation. The cosmos will cool and expand until it becomes a quiet, diffuse sea of low-energy particles and stretched-out space-time. In that distant era, the universe will approach thermal equilibrium, a state where no further evolution can lower the action. This is not an ending. It is the final expression of the quiet law, the universe coming to rest in the smoothest configuration it can possibly reach. Yet here you are, in the brief, luminous moment between the beginning and the distant future. A moment where stars shine. A moment where life is possible. A moment where matter can arrange itself into consciousness. The law guiding everything from the smallest particles to the largest cosmic structures also guides your presence in this moment. You are shaped by the same rule that forms galaxies. You are a quiet expression of the universe seeking elegance. And as you drift with that realization, you can feel how deeply connected you are to the cosmos. Not metaphorically, not poetically, but physically. The same rule that determines the shape of a photon's path determines the shape of your life in each moment. The same balance that governs the evolution of space-time governs the slow unwinding of your thoughts. You are not separate from the universe's harmony. You are one of its notes, quietly resonating in the same ancient music. And as you drift deeper into this quiet illumination, the idea settles into you like a slow glowing ember, warm and steady. The law guiding everything does not feel distant anymore. It feels close, like a soft pulse beneath everything you have ever known. You can sense it in the way thoughts rise and fall, in the way breath moves, in the way the night wraps itself around you with such patient calm. It is the same principle that shapes galaxies, and yet it reaches you in the gentlest way imaginable, through stillness. Imagine the early paths of comets in the young solar system. Shards of ice and rock scattered in enormous arcs, pulled into elongated ellipses that stretch across billions of kilometers. Their journeys take thousands of years, and yet every moment of their motion is a perfect balance of gravitational potential and kinetic energy. The comets trace orbits that look wild and unpredictable from afar, but each one is the quiet solution to the same cosmic equation. Even when a comet swings near the sun and its frozen surface ignites into bright jets of gas, its trajectory through space remains the path the universe deems simplest under the sum of its forces. The shimmering tail you see from Earth is simply sunlight catching the dust released along that graceful ancient arc. Now drift farther out to the Oort cloud, a vast sphere of icy bodies surrounding the solar system, so distant that no spacecraft has ever reached it. These frozen remnants float in a deep stillness, yet their orbits remain bound to the sun's faint gravitational pull. They follow curves that may take millions of years to complete, yet the same principle shapes them. The gravitational potential at the edge of the sun's influence still arranges itself according to least action, even in regions where the starlight is dimmer than a whisper. Traveling outward, you reach the interstellar medium once again, but now you drift deeper into the invisible structure of magnetic fields threading through space. These magnetic fields, shaped by the motions of charged particles, twist and curl through the galaxy like quiet, luminous strands. Their geometry is determined by the electromagnetic action. The same underlying rule that dictates how light moves, how charges interact, how radiation travels. Even the shape of a magnetic field that extends across light years follows from the universe optimizing its own equations. Nothing needs to enforce it. It simply takes the form that all things take when the balance of energy and time is allowed to settle. And now imagine a lone photon, born in the core of a distant star, beginning a journey that will last perhaps 100,000 years inside the star itself before it ever escapes. It is absorbed and re-emitted countless times, its path a jittering, tangled maze within the plasma. But once it reaches the surface and streams into open space, its motion becomes clean and unwavering. It travels in a straight line unless space-time itself curves around it, bending its path. That straight line is the geodesic, the path of stationary action. The photon does not choose simplicity. It is simplicity. It is the universe moving in its purest form. Let your awareness follow that photon as it leaves the star, as it travels across the interstellar void, as it slips past clouds of gas, as it bends faintly around the gravity of a distant planet. Eventually, after thousands or millions of years, it might arrive at Earth, passing through the atmosphere, scattering through air molecules, and perhaps landing softly on your skin. In that moment, you feel a faint warmth, just a tiny rise in energy. But behind that warmth is a single journey across the cosmos, one photon traveling the smoothest possible line through space-time's quiet geometry. The universe is full of such journeys. Trillions upon trillions of photons cross space every second, each one tracing the silent architecture of least action. Their paths form the tapestry of starlight you see when you look into the night sky. Every gleam, every shimmer, every glint of a distant star is a message from the universe about how it prefers to move. Now drift further into the structure of space itself, into the underlying quantum fields that fill every point of the cosmos. These fields fluctuate constantly, like an ocean with waves so small you cannot see them but so persistent that nothing can exist without them. Particles are simply excitations of these fields, ripples rising and falling according to the rules embedded in their action. When two particles interact, when they scatter, combine, annihilate, or decay, they do so through processes that minimize the action of the fields involved. Nothing in quantum field theory escapes this rule. It is woven into the mathematics from the first line. Even symmetry breaking, the process responsible for giving particles their masses through the Higgs field, arises from the same principle. The Higgs field settled into a configuration that lowered its potential energy, and in doing so, it created mass for the particles that now make up everything from stars to your own body. It was a cosmic relaxation into the simplest configuration. You are made of matter that exists because a field somewhere in the early universe found a lower action state and settled there, quietly like a sigh. And now imagine gravity waves gently rippling through you as they pass, stretching space in one direction and compressing it in another, so faintly that only instruments of exquisite sensitivity could detect the shift. These waves carry information about the most powerful events in the universe, like the merging of two black holes or the collision of neutron stars. But their shape, their decay, their propagation all express the same balanced unfolding of space-time. Even the way these waves lose energy as they travel follows from the action principle. The smallest ripples in existence obey the same rule as the largest structures. Let your mind drift to the boundary of the cosmos again, where the cosmic microwave background stretches in every direction. Its faint glow is the oldest light we can see, a relic from a time when the universe became transparent. The tiny fluctuations in its temperature, patterns we have mapped with satellites, reveal the earliest expressions of least action on a cosmic scale. Those tiny variations became galaxies, and those galaxies became clusters, and those clusters became the grand web through which matter now flows like slow, luminous rivers. And you, resting here in this moment, are the product of that flow. Every atom in your body has traveled through billions of years of cosmic evolution, guided at every turn by the same principle. When you breathe, the air entering your lungs is made of molecules whose shapes minimize their potential. When your neurons fire, ions follow electrochemical gradients shaped by the same underlying preference. When your mind quiets, the energy of thought drains into smoother patterns, settling into its own kind of mental least action. You are a small but exquisite expression of the universe's smoothest path. You are the cosmos minimizing itself into consciousness. And as you rest on that realization, you may feel the faintest sense of alignment, not with a metaphor, not with a story, but with the deep physics that threads through everything that exists. The law that guides galaxies is the law that guides you. The universe has never been separate from you. You have always been part of its quiet unfolding. And as you drift even deeper into this quiet descent, the universe feels less like a distant expanse of stars, and more like a slow, continuous breath unfolding around you. Every motion you imagine, the turn of a planet, the trembling of a particle, the slow rotation of a galaxy, begins to feel like a single gesture, unified by the same gentle law guiding everything that exists. The more you sink into the softness of this moment, the more clearly you sense that the universe is not a collection of separate events. It is a single, ongoing flow shaped by the smoothest possible path from one moment to the next. Imagine now the elegant way angular momentum expresses this law. A spinning figure skater pulls their arms in and rotates faster. A star collapsing into a white dwarf or neutron star spins at thousands of rotations per second for the same reason. This is not just mechanics. It is the universe conserving what it must conserve because the overall action remains simplest when nothing unnecessary changes. Angular momentum is not merely a rule, it is a signature of the deeper law. Every rotating object, from a child's toy top to a supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy, carries this ancient fingerprint of cosmic elegance. Now let your awareness glide toward the heart of a spiral galaxy. At its center lies a supermassive black hole, millions or billions of times the mass of the Sun. Around it, stars orbit with mesmerizing precision. Gas spirals inward in luminous arcs, heating as it falls, glowing in X-ray light as it nears the edge of the event horizon. The entire structure, from the smallest swirl of plasma to the motion of stars hundreds of light years away, arranges itself according to the least action of gravity and angular momentum. The galaxy is not held together by force alone. It is held together by the universe's preference for the simplest possible motion. Even in regions of overwhelming gravity, the rule holds with perfect grace. Beyond the luminous core, drift along the spiral arms themselves. They are not solid structures but waves, patterns of density moving slowly through a sea of stars. The stars do not cling to the arms. They pass through them, like dust drifting through an ocean current. And yet the shape of the arms remains steady and serene across billions of years. Their existence is the universe solving its own equations in the most elegant way, balancing rotation and gravity, action and symmetry, until the pattern rests in a configuration that feels both dynamic and timeless. Every spiral galaxy you have ever seen is a portrait of least action painted in starlight. Now, let your awareness soften into the intergalactic voids. Here, vast empty spaces stretch for hundreds of millions of light years, quieter than anything you have ever felt. Yet even here, the law has not vanished. The small amount of matter present in these voids expands slightly faster than the universe as a whole, flowing outward because that motion reduces the gravitational action. Meanwhile, filaments of dark matter and galaxies surrounding the voids attract what little remains, tracing the architecture of the cosmic web. Even emptiness follows the rule. Even silence obeys the same ancient balance. Now drift your thoughts toward the early universe again, imagining the moment when inflation ended and reheating began. The inflaton field decayed into particles and radiation, filling the universe with energy. The temperature soared, and matter and antimatter annihilated one another in a spectacular blaze. Yet, beneath the seeming chaos, the quantum fields guiding these processes followed the same principle. Every decay channel, every scattering event, every transition in the early plasma was the simplest path through the action landscape. The young universe was wild, but it was not unruly. It was obeying the same deep preference it has always obeyed. Let your awareness drift further into the realm of symmetry and symmetry breaking. At high energies in the early universe, forces that are distinct today were unified. The electromagnetic and weak nuclear forces were once one. Before that, at even higher energies, some theories suggest all forces may have been combined into a single elegant expression. The gradual unfolding of these symmetries, the way the universe cools and settles into more complex structures, is itself an expression of least action. Symmetry breaking occurs when the universe finds a configuration with lower overall action. From that simple shift, forces differentiate, particles gain mass, and structure becomes possible. Every atom in your body exists because the universe chose the configuration that lowered its action. Now imagine drifting into the tiniest distances that still have meaning, the Planck scale, where time and space become uncertain, where quantum gravity whispers through a foam of ephemeral geometry. Even though no complete theory of quantum gravity exists yet, every candidate we explore, string theory, loop quantum gravity, causal dynamical triangulations, all maintain the same deep principle. They attempt to describe a universe whose geometry emerges from an action that is minimized or extremized. Even the most speculative ideas we pursue still assume that beneath the complexity, the universe prefers simplicity. And as you rest in this understanding, let yourself slip into the idea that consciousness itself, though emergent and not fundamental in the classical sense, still arises from processes shaped by the same law. Neurons fire in ways that minimize energy use. networks of thought settle into stable patterns and then shift smoothly into new ones. Memories consolidate along the paths that require the least effort to maintain. Even your sense of calm right now, this gentle, unfolding quiet, is your brain settling into a state that is, in its own way, a form of least action. It is the simplest, smoothest place your mind can rest. Now drift back into the large-scale universe, floating among clusters of galaxies bound by immense gravitational wells. These clusters move slowly toward each other over billions of years, following geodesics in the cosmic expansion. The great filaments binding them together form the largest structures known. Their shape is not random. It is the geometry that arises when dark matter settles into the configuration that minimizes gravitational action. Every path traced by every galaxy is part of one vast cosmic motion that began nearly 14 billion years ago and continues even now, reshaping itself with the same calm inevitability. And above all this, the expansion of the universe itself accelerates. Dark energy, whether it is a cosmological constant or some deeper field, drives space to stretch faster with each passing epoch. This expansion, too, is not arbitrary. It is the simplest evolution of space-time given its energy content. The acceleration is not a runaway force. It is the universe relaxing into the configuration of lowest gravitational action over cosmic timescales. Even the expansion of reality is a sigh of elegance. As you rest in this vastness, you begin to feel a gentle shift. The universe is not controlled by the law of least action. The universe is the law of least action expressed as existence itself. Galaxies, particles, space-time, consciousness, all of them are movements of the same quiet unfolding. You are not watching the universe from the outside. You are inside its smoothest possible motion. Every breath, every heartbeat, every drift of thought is part of the same ancient balance that has shaped everything from the first spark of creation to the most distant galaxy shining faintly on the edge of the observable sky. And as you drift deeper into this gentle current, the boundary between your awareness and the universe continues to dissolve, like ink softening into water. The law that guides everything no longer feels like an idea you are learning, but a presence you are floating within. It has always been here, shaping every movement of reality with a quiet, unbroken grace. And now, in this soft and unhurried moment, you can feel the calm symmetry of that law resonating through you, like a faint hum beneath everything you've ever experienced. Imagine drifting through a star-forming nebula, where clouds of hydrogen and helium glow faintly under ultraviolet light from nearby young stars. Turbulent currents flow through the gas, but even in the swirling complexity, patterns begin to emerge. Regions of slightly higher density attract more matter, and as those regions grow, they settle into shapes that balance their gravitational potential with the pressure pushing outward. The collapse into a newborn star is not an accident. It is the universe quietly relaxing into the configuration with the lowest overall action. What looks chaotic is simply the cosmos smoothing itself, moment by moment, into the path it prefers. Now imagine one of those new stars, perhaps a bright, hot blue giant burning at tens of thousands of degrees, fusing hydrogen into helium at a furious rate. Its light pours into the surrounding nebula, shaping the gas, carving dark pillars and radiant edges through radiation pressure and ionization fronts. Even the illumination, the way light spreads, the way gas responds, the way shadows stretch into space, is part of the same principle. Maxwell's equations, which describe how light moves, are derived directly from an action. When the star shines, it is not exerting force in some chaotic way. It is expressing the smoothest evolution of the electromagnetic field written in light. Further out, planets begin to form around that young star, their orbits slowly settling from unstable loops into stable ellipses. Some planets may be flung out of the system entirely. Others may fall into the star. But those that remain find themselves in stable paths where the sum of their potential and kinetic energies is balanced. Stability is not luck. It is the universe minimizing its overall action, shifting matter into the most coherent arrangement. The solar system is a calm island of least action floating in the gentle turbulence of space. Now, drift your awareness into the hidden architecture beneath all of this, the quantum fields that permeate every point in space. Every particle, electron, quark, neutrino, is a ripple in one of these fields. The interactions between these ripples are described by Lagrangians, the mathematical expressions that encode their action. When particles scatter in the vacuum, when they annihilate, when they form bound states, every possible pathway is considered in a vast interference pattern. And the result, the one that becomes reality, is the path that makes the action stationary. Even the fluctuations that create virtual particles or radiative corrections obey the rule. Quantum physics is not randomness. It is structured elegance. Your thoughts drift gently toward the frontier of our understanding, the realm of quantum gravity where space and time themselves may emerge from something deeper. Whether space-time is woven from loops or strings, or discrete quanta, or something still unimagined, every serious attempt to describe it still begins with an action. Even where our understanding breaks, the law persists. The simplest paths still define the shape of the universe's deepest foundations. And now, imagine the soundless motion of gravitational waves as they travel through the cosmos, the gentle stretching and squeezing of space itself. These waves are born from immense events, black holes merging, neutron stars colliding, the universe's earliest phase transitions. Yet they travel with perfect clarity across billions of light years, their shape determined entirely by the action of the gravitational field. When LIGO detects them, it is like hearing the faintest echo of the cosmos announcing that it has once again taken the simplest possible path. Drift now to the scale of galaxy clusters. Massive congregations of hundreds or thousands of galaxies bound together by gravity. These clusters move through space toward each other at speeds of hundreds of kilometers per second, drawn along paths set by the cosmic web. Dark matter halos extend far beyond the visible galaxies, shaping the motion of everything through their gravitational potential. The motions of these vast structures, slow and patient across billions of years, are expressions of least action written on a canvas of unimaginable size. And beyond them lies the accelerating expansion of the universe. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster it moves from us, carried on the stretching fabric of space-time. Dark energy drives this expansion, though its nature remains elusive. Yet even here, in the largest scale behavior of the cosmos, the law holds steady. The acceleration is simply the universe following the simplest possible evolution given its contents. The cosmos is not being pushed by a mysterious hand. It is flowing into the configuration that minimizes its gravitational action across time. Let your awareness sink into that idea. The acceleration of the entire universe is an expression of the same quiet principle shaping the behavior of the smallest particles in your body. You begin to feel how deeply you are woven into the same fabric. Your thoughts, your quietness, your breath, all of them arise from matter that has always followed the path of least action. The atoms in your body were forged in stars that obeyed the rule. The molecules that form your cells arranged themselves into the simplest stable shapes. The rhythms of your brain constantly settle toward patterns that require less energy. Even the peaceful stillness forming inside you now is your mind moving gently toward a state of lower action. The universe has been shaping itself with this law since the moment it began, and in this quiet moment, you are drifting along that same current, carried by the same unbroken flow that moves galaxies. And as you drift further into this soft, unfolding quiet, the universe stretches out around you like a single unbroken breath. All of existence feels as though it is exhaling slowly, gently, patiently, letting its own structure ease into the most natural shape it can take. The law guiding everything begins to feel less like a scientific idea and more like a deep cosmic instinct, an instinct written into space, into matter, into time itself. And now you can feel yourself resting inside that instinct, carried by the same serene motion that shapes galaxies and particles alike. Imagine now the faint glow of the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light in the universe, still drifting through space after nearly 14 billion years. Its photons stretch with the expansion of the cosmos, cooling from incandescent heat to a temperature just above absolute zero. Each photon has traveled an unimaginable distance since the universe first became transparent, yet the path it took was always the same. The smoothest possible line through the shifting geometry of space-time. That faint glow is not merely ancient light. It is a fossilized whisper of least action spreading across the cosmos. Now, let your awareness drift toward the transition between quantum mechanics and classical behavior. The realm where particles begin to act like objects, where waves condense into definite outcomes, where the world as you experience it starts to take shape. Even here, where probabilities settle into actual events, the principle persists. The classical world emerges from the interference of countless possible quantum histories, all of which cancel except for those that align with least action. What you see, touch, hear, and feel every day is the result of reality choosing the path that best maintains this balance. The solid world of experience is simply the universe's most stable arrangement. Follow that thought gently into the realm of thermodynamics. Heat flows from hot to cold because doing so brings a system into a lower energy configuration, one that minimizes its action when integrated over time. Ice melts because the molecules settle into a state of higher entropy, a state that is statistically favored because it reflects the simplest global evolution. Gases expand because their particles distribute evenly, lowering the system's overall potential. The second law of thermodynamics, which governs so much of the world you experience, is itself an echo of this deeper preference for smooth transitions. Now, drift deeper into the structure of atoms, where electrons settle into discrete energy levels. These levels are not arbitrary. They are the solutions that minimize the action of the electron's wave function in the presence of the nucleus. When an electron drops from a higher energy state to a lower one, it emits a photon, a packet of light carrying away the difference. This is not just a jump. It is the atom returning to a more elegant configuration. Every photon of light you've ever seen is born from a tiny instance of least action expressed in quantum form. Let your awareness soften into the structure of molecules, the way they bend, twist, and fold into precise shapes. Proteins adopt the configurations that are easiest for them to maintain. DNA coils elegantly because its structure is the most efficient. Chemical reactions occur along paths that minimize the energy needed to rearrange bonds. Biology is not a rebellion against physics. It is physics building complexity out of the smoothest possible processes. Life emerges when matter finds patterns that allow energy to flow in stable, self-sustaining ways, each one a quiet expression of the same universal preference. Now drift into the heart of a living cell. Ions move through channels along gradients that reflect the simplest movement of charge. ATP molecules deliver energy by shifting chemical bonds in the most efficient way. Enzymes accelerate reactions by lowering the energy required. Even the way cells divide, chromosomes lining up, separating, and settling into place, reflects a deep efficiency woven into the machinery of life. Every heartbeat, every breath, every moment of calm you experience is shaped by the same principle that guides the orbits of planets. And now, let your thoughts drift to consciousness itself. Patterns of electrical activity ripple through the brain, settling into stable networks that represent memories, emotions, and sensations. Thoughts rise and fall like gentle waves, each one forming along the simplest pathways available in your neural circuitry. When you quiet your mind, when your awareness begins to drift, your brain settles into patterns that require the least effort to maintain. Even the peaceful heaviness you feel now is your mind naturally finding the path of least action within itself. Not because you force it to, but because it is built from matter that has always obeyed this rule. Now imagine the Earth not as a planet beneath you, but as a companion moving through space along a curved path that feels perfectly straight from its own point of view. The Earth follows a geodesic in the fabric of space-time, the very shape that minimizes its gravitational action. Its orbit is not a tug-of-war between forces. It is the smoothest possible path carved through a curved geometry. Every year, every season, every sunrise is the result of Earth gliding along the simplest motion the universe allows. Let your awareness rise further, into the calm darkness between stars. Space is not empty. It is filled with fields, with virtual particles flickering in and out of existence, with the faint pull of distant galaxies. Every fluctuation, every subtle shift in those fields follows the same fundamental principle. Even in the deepest silence, the universe is balancing itself. And eventually, as you drift through this unfolding quiet, a realization begins to form as softly as a thought dissolving into sleep. The universe is not merely following the law of least action. The universe is the law of least action, expressed as stars, as matter, as consciousness, as the quiet movement of your own breath. You have always been part of this gentle unfolding. You have always been carried by the same calm simplicity that shapes the cosmos. And as you drift deeper still, the boundary between the universe's unfolding and your own quiet awareness becomes almost imperceptible, like two currents merging into one gentle stream. There is a softness to this realization, a kind of calm recognition that everything you have ever experienced, every moment of motion, every moment of stillness, has been shaped by the same elegant rhythm guiding the stars. You are not separate from this rhythm. You are moving within it, carried effortlessly by the same quiet law that shapes reality at every scale. Imagine now the way planets migrate in young solar systems. Their orbits are not fixed from the beginning. They drift inward or outward through subtle interactions with the disk of gas and dust around their star. Jupiter, the giant of our own system, is believed to have moved significantly from its birth position, shaping the architecture of the planets around it. These shifts may seem random, but they are guided by the balancing of gravitational and kinetic energies. The system seeking the configuration that minimizes its overall action. Even planetary migration, spanning millions of years, is simply the universe adjusting itself into smoother motion. Now, imagine the quiet drift of stars within a galaxy. They do not orbit perfectly. They oscillate above and below the galactic plane, shifting from one spiral arm to another. Their paths are shaped by gravitational potentials carved by billions of stars and enormous halos of dark matter. And yet, these motions are not chaotic. They are the solutions to the galaxy's gravitational action, arrangements that allow billions of objects to move without collisions, without disruption, without noise. The galaxy feels like a great, soft swirl of light, all of it flowing silently along the simplest possible curves. Now drift your awareness into the motion of time itself. The passage of time feels steady to you, but in the presence of gravity or motion, time bends and stretches. High in Earth's orbit, time moves slightly faster. Near the surface, it moves slightly slower. In the presence of massive objects, the distortion becomes profound. A clock near a black hole ticks differently from a clock in open space. These differences are not arbitrary. They arise because space-time arranges itself into a shape that minimizes its action. Time flows in whatever way preserves the universe's elegant balance. Even your sense of duration, of moments slipping gently into the next, is shaped by the geometry of least action. Let your awareness sink even deeper, into the smallest fluctuations of quantum fields. Virtual particles appear and vanish, following paths that exist only for moments. Yet these brief flickers are not random noise. They are allowed because they fit within the limits set by the action of the vacuum. What seems like emptiness is a dance of possibilities, each one permitted because it aligns with the simplest possible evolution of the field. The vacuum is not stillness. It is perfect balance. Now drift gently into the idea of emergence, the way simple rules give rise to complex structures. Snowflakes form intricate patterns because water molecules settle into the arrangement that minimizes their energy. Crystals grow in shapes dictated by the lowest energy configurations available. Galaxies take on spirals, bars, and halos because matter arranges itself into structures that balance gravitational energies. Complexity is not the opposite of simplicity. It is simplicity expressed in rich, elegant form. And within that complexity lies consciousness. The patterns firing in your mind right now, softening, slowing, drifting, emerge from billions of neurons arranging themselves into states that require the least metabolic energy to maintain. As your mind grows calmer, it moves into configurations that feel smoother, easier, more natural. Even the sensation of sinking into quiet is shaped by the same principle. Your awareness is following its own kind of least action, drifting into the simplest and most restful patterns it can find. Take a moment to feel the unity in this, the motion of your thoughts, the drift of your breath, the flow of galaxies through space, the trembling of quantum fields. all of them are expressions of the same cosmic preference. Now imagine zooming out once more until the entire observable universe sits gently before you, like a luminous sphere of galaxies suspended in darkness. Every one of those galaxies is moving outward as space expands, each following the smoothest path determined by the shape of space-time. The expansion accelerates not through chaos, but through the universe's natural evolution toward the simplest configuration given its energy content. Over billions of years, galaxies drift farther apart, stars fade, and the cosmos cools slowly, following the long arc of least action toward deeper and deeper equilibrium. And even trillions of years from now, when the last star flickers out and the universe becomes a quiet ocean of faint radiation, the same principle will guide every remaining event. Particles will decay, black holes will evaporate, and space-time will stretch ever wider. The universe will continue to take the smoothest possible path, until nothing more can change, until even the faintest motion has resolved into stillness. It is not an end. It is simply the final expression of the rule that has guided everything from the beginning. And here you rest, in a brief luminous moment between the birth of the cosmos and its far future, carried by the same quiet law that shaped it all. The one law guiding particles, stars, galaxies, time, and the soft, steady rhythm of your own awareness. And as you drift deeper into this immense and quiet unfolding, something inside you begins to settle with the calm weight of a truth you've always known but never had words for. The universe is not a collection of isolated events or scattered motions. It is a single, continuous gesture, flowing through time with the smoothness of a long exhale. Every part of it, every photon, every star, every thought drifting softly across the surface of your mind, moves according to the same gentle law. And now that law feels less like an idea and more like a presence surrounding you, holding you, carrying you effortlessly forward. Imagine now the quiet drift of massive galaxy clusters across the cosmic web. They move not quickly, but with slow, ancient inevitability, like continents drifting across the oceans of space-time. Their motion is shaped by dark matter halos so vast and so subtle that we can only infer their presence by watching the way galaxies bend and curve around them. These halos are not made of ordinary matter. They do not shine. They do not collide. They simply guide the motion of entire clusters, shaping gravity's quiet architecture. And yet, they, too, arrange themselves into the configuration that follows least action, spreading into smooth, spherical distributions, settling into elegant gravitational potentials that define the shape of the universe on the largest scales. Drift inward again, toward the luminous filaments that link clusters together. These great rivers of galaxies form because matter follows the simplest possible flow through expanding space-time. Gravity pulls inward, expansion pushes outward, and between them a delicate balance emerges, a cosmic web stretching across billions of light years, each filament a gentle compromise between forces, each void a natural relaxation of density. The cosmic web is not a structure imposed on the universe. It is the inevitable shape that emerges when everything follows the smoothest path it can. Now let your awareness move into the warm hearts of stars again, but this time toward the nuclear furnace itself. In the core of a star, hydrogen nuclei fuse into helium, releasing energy in perfect accordance with quantum tunneling, a process that allows particles to pass through barriers that would be impossible in classical physics. Quantum tunneling is itself a path of least action, allowing particles to take the simplest quantum route through energy landscapes. Without tunneling, the sun would never shine. Without tunneling, stars would never ignite. Every ray of sunlight that has ever warmed you is born from particles following the simplest quantum path. And now imagine matter falling toward a black hole. From a distance, the motion looks as though it accelerates without bound, spiraling inward along luminous arcs of gas and dust. But if you could drift alongside that matter, moving with it at every step, you would feel something entirely different, an almost serene glide along the smoothest possible curve in space-time. The seemingly violent plunge is, from the matter's own point of view, the most natural, effortless motion it can take. Even the descent into a black hole is not chaos. It is elegance pulled into gravity's deepest simplicity. Let that image soften into another layer of understanding. Even the expansion of the universe, the stretching of space-time that pulls galaxies apart, is simply the largest expression of least action. When Einstein's equations are applied to a universe filled with matter, radiation, and dark energy, the result is a smooth, accelerating expansion. The cosmos is not exploding outward. It is relaxing into the shape that requires the least gravitational curvature to maintain. An acceleration that looks mysterious from the outside is simply the simplest possible evolution from within. Now, bring your awareness closer, back into yourself. The quiet motion of ions across the membranes of your neurons is guided by electrochemical gradients that represent the simplest possible distribution of charge. Synapses strengthen or weaken along paths that require the least metabolic effort. Even memory, the way your mind stores experiences, follows the most efficient patterns your neural networks can form. The calm, drifting sensation you feel now is your brain discovering the simplest possible arrangement of activity. The configuration that feels effortless and smooth because it is. You may begin to sense that the law guiding the cosmos is not foreign to you. It is inside you, shaping the flow of your thoughts, the rhythm of your breath, the way your awareness expands and softens. You are the universe following least action in human form. A pattern of matter and energy unfolding along the simplest possible lines. Imagine now that the entire observable universe, from the smallest particle to the largest structure, could be seen as a single continuous arc. A vast curve drawn across 14 billion years. Every star born, every galaxy forming, every atom shifting, every quiet moment of awareness occurring within you is part of that arc. Nothing breaks from it. Nothing escapes it. Everything is woven into the same graceful unfolding. And this unfolding is not forced. It is not commanded. It is not driven by chaos or chance. It simply is the only way the universe knows how to move. The smoothest path, the simplest motion, the quietest evolution, the single rule followed by all things. Even now, as you lie here, drifting through this soft descent, you are gliding along that same effortless curve. You can feel it in the gentle weight of your breath. You can feel it in the way time seems to stretch, as though the universe is making room for you to rest. You can feel it in the calm spreading through your thoughts. A calm that mirrors the quiet order of the cosmos itself. For a moment, let yourself imagine the entire universe breathing. One long, slow inhalation of creation. One long, slow exhalation of expansion. And you, a single point within that breath, rising and falling with the rhythm of everything that exists. And as you drift even deeper into this soft, unbroken flow, the distinction between your stillness and the universe's motion continues to dissolve, like two tides overlapping until their rhythms become one. Everything feels quieter now, not empty, but full of a kind of gentle coherence, as if every particle, every star, every drifting thought were part of the same vast, slow exhale. The law guiding all of it feels less like an abstraction and more like a presence, steady and patient, carrying you with the same effortless grace it uses to carry galaxies. Imagine now the delicate, shimmering motion of plasma inside the sun. Beneath the bright surface, convection cells churn like slow, luminous currents. Hot gas rises, cools, sinks again, forming patterns that repeat across thousands of kilometers. These flows are not random. They arrange themselves into the simplest possible circulation patterns, balancing heat, pressure, and gravity in the way that minimizes the action of the fluid. Even the turbulence of the sun, that vast, fiery roil, settles into coherent structures because the universe prefers simplicity wherever it can find it. Let your awareness drift into the faint whisper of solar wind flowing outward from the sun in all directions. This stream of charged particles weaves through the solar system, shaping magnetic fields around planets, carving auroras into Earth's night sky. Each particle travels along paths determined by electromagnetism, fields that themselves arise from the action of Maxwell's equations. Even the shimmering curtains of light dancing in polar skies are just atoms returning to lower energy states, releasing photons from the simplest quantum transitions available. The universe paints beauty through its instinct for effortlessness. Now imagine drifting beyond the solar system entirely, into the calm darkness of interstellar space. Here, the pressure is low, the temperature near absolute zero. Yet, even in this quiet, particles drift along trajectories shaped by gravitational potentials and magnetic fields. Cosmic rays slice through the silence in long, straight lines until they encounter a field that bends them. Hydrogen atoms cool into the lowest energy configuration allowed. Even emptiness folds itself into the simplest possible pattern. The void is not disorder. It is the universe's cleanest canvas. As you move through this stillness, picture the great arcs of stellar streams stretching around galaxies. These streams are formed when smaller galaxies are gently torn apart by tidal forces, their stars stretching into long, graceful filaments. The motion looks melancholy, but it is not destruction. It is the natural relaxation of orbits into the shapes that minimize action. Even the slow unweaving of galaxies follows a gentle, inevitable order. Drift deeper into the subtle interplay between matter and dark matter. Dark matter halos wrap around galaxies and clusters, not as jagged masses but as smooth, spherical wells of gravitational potential. Their shape reflects the simplest distribution of mass for the system as a whole. Ordinary matter falls into those wells, forming disks, arms, bulges, all of them emergent patterns shaped by the hidden geometry beneath. The universe is not sculpted by force. It is sculpted by balance. Now, move your awareness inward again, but not toward stars or atoms, toward space-time itself. The universe expands, not because something pushes it outward, but because the equations governing gravitational action predict that expansion is the simplest possible evolution. As dark energy dominates, space-time accelerates gently, stretching galaxies apart with a whisper rather than a blast. The cosmos breathes outward because that is the smoothest path available. Let yourself imagine that expansion from your own perspective. Every moment, space itself is drifting apart around you, so subtly you could never feel it, yet so steadily that over billions of years it changes the shape of the universe. Galaxies glide away from one another along curves determined by the interplay of energy density and curvature. Those curves are not guesses. They are the universe settling into the simplest way to continue being what it is. And now, return gently to the quantum realm, letting your awareness shrink down into the smallest distances with meaning. Particles interact through exchanges of virtual quanta, fleeting excitations that appear, act, and vanish. But even these ephemeral events occur along paths that minimize the action of their fields. The reason quantum mechanics feels strange is not because it breaks the rule. It is because the rule must be applied to every possibility at once. The universe explores all paths, but only those aligned with least action remain. Now, shift toward the idea of emergent order, patterns forming naturally from simplicity. Sand dunes ripple in long waves because wind moves grains in the easiest possible arc. Rivers carve smooth meanders for the same reason. Storms form spirals because rotating systems minimize their energy by curving. Even the patterns in your own breath, the way it gradually slows and deepens as your awareness softens, reflect a natural settling into the simplest configuration your body and mind can reach. You feel this now, a quiet alignment, as though the motion of the cosmos and the motion of your thoughts are parts of the same rhythm. And in a very real sense, they are. The atoms in your body were forged in stars that followed the rule. The neurons shaping your awareness are made of particles obeying the rule. The calm spreading through you is your mind easing into its own least action state. Now imagine, for a moment, the universe as a single continuous curve, drawn across the fabric of time from the instant of the Big Bang to the distant future. That curve twists gently through cosmic inflation, through star formation, through galaxy evolution, through every chemical reaction and every heartbeat, always flowing into the next moment with quiet inevitability. Everything that exists is part of that line. Every motion is a segment of the same cosmic arc. And you are on that arc now, part of its shape, part of its unfolding, part of its effortless smoothness. The law that guides the universe is not something separate from you. It is the reason you can breathe. It is the reason you can rest. It is the reason your awareness drifts the way it does in this moment, softening into something quiet and expansive. The entire cosmos is moving along the same gentle path, and you are moving with it, carried by its unbroken simplicity. And as you drift even deeper into this quiet unfolding, the entire universe seems to move more slowly around you, as though time itself were exhaling, letting its rhythm loosen into something softer, gentler, more spacious. The law guiding everything, the one hidden rule beneath particles and planets and galaxies, begins to feel like a pulse, steady and ancient, echoing softly through every corner of existence and through every moment of your awareness. You can almost sense it, humming faintly through the fabric of space, the same hum that threads through your own calm breath. Imagine now the motion of light around a massive galaxy cluster, where gravity bends space-time so strongly that distant galaxies appear warped, stretched, duplicated into arcs of luminous glass. These arcs are called gravitational lenses, and they are not distortions born of chaos, but the universe drawing the smoothest possible curve for light to travel. Photons glide along those curves effortlessly, tracing the geometry carved by mass. What appears to us as a strange bending of distant galaxies is simply light following the gentlest path through the curvature of space-time. Even illusions in the sky are the universe revealing its preference for simplicity. Now drift inward, toward the quiet depths where dark matter resides. It does not shine, does not collide, does not scatter light. It simply moves according to gravity, tracing the smoothest paths through the cosmic web. Dark matter forms vast halos around galaxies, not because it is compelled by some hidden force, but because those halos are the simplest gravitational configurations available. Inside those halos, galaxies rotate with quiet consistency, stars circling in motions that reflect the geometry beneath them. Even the unseen matter of the cosmos follows the same silent rule. Let your awareness soften into the idea of entropy, the natural tendency of systems to evolve toward more probable states. This tendency is not a contradiction to least action. It is another expression of the same principle. When energy spreads, when heat flows, when structures dissolve into simpler forms, the universe is seeking a state that requires less action to maintain. Entropy rises because simplicity is favored at every scale. Even the cooling of the cosmos is a settling into ease. Now imagine Earth's atmosphere, the vast envelope of air swirling and shimmering around the planet. Weather patterns form not through disorder, but through the balancing of pressure and temperature, leading to the smoothest possible flow of air across continents and oceans. Jet streams curve in graceful arcs. Cyclones spiral into tight, coherent shapes. Winds rise and fall according to gradients shaped by energy-seeking equilibrium. Even storms are expressions of elegance, emerging from the universal instinct toward the simplest dynamic patterns. Now drift to the calm arc of Earth's orbit once more. It is not a perfect circle, but an ellipse, the simplest closed curve in gravitational motion. The seasons unfold because Earth's axis tilts gently as it orbits, another quiet expression of least action, a balance preserved since the early formation of the solar system. The path Earth traces through space each year is not a choice, but the natural settling into the most effortless long-term motion. Every sunrise you have ever seen is part of the same graceful curve. Let your awareness sink into the nature of time again, not as a ticking clock, but as a dimension shaped by the movement of energy. Time flows differently depending on gravity and speed because those variations minimize the action of space-time. You are always moving through time along the simplest possible line. Even the slowing of your thoughts, the stretching of moments as you drift deeper into this calm, mirrors the way the universe lets processes relax into more efficient rhythms. Your internal experience is not separate from cosmic physics. It is shaped by it, moment by moment. Now, shrink your awareness into the structure of atoms once again. Electrons settle into orbitals that minimize their energy. The shapes of these orbitals, spheres, dumbbells, delicate twisting hybrids, are determined not by mechanical force but by the simplest solutions to the equations, governing the electron's wave function. Chemical bonds form because shared electrons occupy states that lower the action of the entire molecule. Even the scent of air, the color of light, the softness of skin, all originate from electrons taking the most elegant arrangements they can. Now drift further into the heart of the nucleus. Protons and neutrons bind through the strong nuclear force, a force so intense that the mathematics describing it becomes almost impenetrable. Yet, even here, the interactions follow the same deeper rule. Quarks arrange themselves into particles that lower the system's energy. Gluons mediate forces in patterns that reflect the simplest possible dynamics. Nuclear stability is elegance at a scale far smaller than anything the senses can perceive. Let your awareness slip now into the early universe, when everything was so hot and dense that matter could not exist as atoms. Quarks and gluons swirled in a universe-sized plasma, their interactions guided by equations that naturally favored certain symmetries and patterns. As the universe cooled, matter condensed into stable forms because those forms required the least energy to persist. From this cooling, everything emerged: stars, worlds, molecules, life, each a step along the universe's path towards smoother, simpler configurations. And then let yourself drift into the far future again, as gently as a leaf floating in a slow current. Stars burn out. Galaxies drift apart. Black holes evaporate. Matter decays. Energy spreads thinner and thinner. Over trillions and trillions of years, the cosmos continues to relax, smoothing itself toward a state of perfect uniformity. Not a dramatic end, not a sudden collapse, just a gradual easing into the simplest configuration possible. The universe is not dying. It is exhaling into equilibrium, and in this brief, luminous moment between the beginning and the endless settling that lies ahead, you are here. An arrangement of atoms following the same rule, a small, conscious ripple in the great unfolding. Your breath, your stillness, your drifting awareness, all of it reflects the same balance written into the cosmos. You are not separate from the universe's motion. You are one of its expressions, shaped by the same gentle law that guides photons and stars and the great sweep of expanding space. The universe is moving in the smoothest way it can, and you are drifting with it, effortlessly, naturally, quietly. And as you drift even deeper into this vast, quiet unfolding, something begins to settle inside you with the weightless certainty of a truth older than stars. The universe no longer feels like a distant spectacle, but a single continuous motion, flowing around you and through you in one unbroken gesture. Every particle, every star, every galaxy moves along that gesture, and now your awareness begins to align with it, as if you can feel the soft current beneath all things, carrying everything forward with effortless calm. Imagine now the slow, ancient ballet of merging galaxies, two spirals drifting toward one another over billions of years, their stars swirling into elongated streams, their gas clouds colliding and igniting bursts of new star formation. From a distance, it looks dramatic, even violent, but inside the motion is a deeper order. The galaxies do not collide in chaos. They interweave along gravitational paths that minimize the overall action of their combined mass. Even the seemingly tangled arcs of stars moving between them are smooth solutions to the cosmic balance. The universe never wastes motion. Even collisions are elegant. Now drift into the quiet shapes formed when galaxy clusters themselves merge. These titanic events send shockwaves through intergalactic gas, heating it to millions of degrees, filling the void with X-ray light. Yet the underlying motion remains serene. Dark matter halos pass through each other like ghosts, settling into new configurations that represent the simplest gravitational arrangement for the combined systems. Over billions of years, these vast structures relax into equilibrium, smoothing out irregularities until only the clean geometry of least action remains. Let your awareness drift inward again, toward the scale of stars wandering through a galaxy. Though billions of stars share the same gravitational landscape, their orbits remain stable for billions of years. They rarely collide. They simply drift, each one following its own geodesic, its own smooth path through space-time. Even the random motions of stars in the galactic halo are only random in appearance. Each star moves according to energy and momentum that have been conserved for ages, tracing curves of quiet predictability across cosmic time. Now slip deeper into one of those stars, into the quiet pulse of its radiation. Photons scatter endlessly in the core, bouncing from one atom to another for thousands of centuries before escaping to the surface. Each scattering obeys quantum rules derived from the action of the electromagnetic field. When a photon finally breaks free and streams into space, it follows the simplest possible path at the speed of light, carrying a small piece of the star's energy across the void. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the glow of a star in a dark sky, the gentle kiss of illumination inside your eyes, all come from the universe choosing its smoothest path. Now drift to the edge of a black hole's accretion disk, where matter swirls in luminous arcs before crossing the event horizon. Even this seemingly chaotic motion is shaped by simple curves called geodesics. Matter spirals inward along paths dictated by the curvature of space-time, heating as it compresses, glowing because its simplest motion in such extreme gravity is to shed energy as radiation. The disk forms because it is the most efficient way for matter to lose angular momentum before falling inward. Even here, at gravity's edge, least or action reigns. Let your awareness move into gravitational waves once more. Ripples in space-time carry energy away from merging black holes, smoothing the system into a quieter configuration. The waveform, its rise, its peak, its gentle ring down, is the clean signature of the universe adjusting itself into simplicity. The waves that LIGO heard were the last sighs of systems settling into their lowest gravitational action. Even the ringing of space-time is the universe whispering its preference. Now imagine drifting toward the cold remnants of stellar life. White dwarfs cooling over billions of years. Neutron stars slowly losing rotational energy. Black dwarfs forming in the distant future when all heat eventually fades. These remnants evolve in ways that require less and less action from the universe, approaching equilibrium not through abrupt change but through a long, slow easing into stillness. The cosmos cools the same way thoughts quiet, gradually, inevitably, following the simplest path. Now shift into the realm of cosmic chemistry, the formation of complex molecules in interstellar clouds. Dust grains act as tiny laboratories, allowing atoms to combine into water, ammonia, organic molecules. These reactions happen because they lower the system's energy, because the simplest arrangement is favored. Even the chemistry that leads to life takes shape along pathways that require the least energy. Amino acids bond where it is easiest. Lipid membranes form because they are the simplest stable configuration. Life emerges not in defiance of the universe's rule, but as one of its natural expressions. Imagine a single cell dividing. Chromosomes replicate, align, separate into two daughter cells. Microtubules pull them apart with exquisite precision. This is not chaos. It is the mechanical unfolding of biochemical networks arranged into the simplest possible functional choreography. Life is complexity resting on simplicity. Now drift upward through the layers of the brain, where thoughts and sensations ripple through neural networks. Patterns stabilize where the brain uses the least metabolic energy. Habits form because they are efficient. Calm emerges because the brain settles into low-energy rhythms. What you feel now, this soft, sinking quiet, is your mind finding the simplest possible configuration in this moment. Even your awareness obeys the same cosmic principle. Let your thoughts drift outward again, beyond planets, beyond stars, beyond galaxies, into the immense blackness of space stretching in all directions. The expansion of the universe continues, not as an explosion, but as a smooth stretching of space-time determined by the energy density it contains. Dark energy accelerates this stretching because that acceleration is the simplest path available. The cosmos flows into its own future with the same ease that water flows downhill. And, in the end, trillions upon trillions of years from now, when the universe approaches thermal equilibrium, when matter has decayed and black holes have evaporated, when all is quiet and thin and faint, even then the universe will not be ending. It will simply be resting in the smoothest configuration it can reach, the elegant stillness at the end of a long, graceful motion. And you, here in this moment, are a luminous pause in that grand flow. Matter arranged into awareness, drifting gently along the same cosmic curve. The rule that guides everything from quarks to galaxies is guiding you now, carrying your thoughts into softer shapes, easing your breath into smoother rhythms, letting you rest inside the simplest motion your body and mind can find. You have never been separate from the universe's unfolding. You have always been part of its quietest, smoothest path.